तत्सवितुर्वरं रूपम् ज्योतिः परस्य धीमहि.
Good morning and good evening. Let's begin the Friday study circle. Hello, Captain. And just take a few moments to ingather ourselves, ingather the threads of our consciousness, attention. Let us spread throughout, center ourselves with the help of the mantra, with the help of our breath, taking a few moments with the breath to be fully present.
तत्सवितुर्वरं रूपम् ज्योतिः परस्य धीमहि यन्नः सत्येन तत्सवितुर्वरं रूपम् ज्योतिः परस्य धीमहि यन्नः सत्येन
And sorry for the abrupt stop. Invoking Mother's presence and grace. As we continue our exploration of the sunlit. So I am assuming you can see my screens. Last Friday we did offer the wrong movements. And this week we have to take the positive and negative sides. In case there is any issue or I'm saying something wrong, do correct me. But that's what I remember. And Captain wasn't there, so I can't be corrected today. Yeah, so whoever feels ready, we can begin the positive and negative.
Good evening. So I'll read it out. The positive and negative sides. There is a positive and a negative side to this work. The positive side is to increase one's aspiration, develop one's consciousness, unify one's being, to go within in order to enter more and more into contact with one's psychic being, to take up all the parts, all the movements, all the activities of one's being and put them before this psychic consciousness so that they fall into their true place in relation to this center. Finally, to organize all one's aspiration towards the divine and one's progress towards the divine. That is the positive side. At the same time, the negative side consists in refusing methodically and with discernment all the influences which come from outside or from the subconscient or inconscient or from the environment and stand in the way of spiritual progress. One must discern these influences, suggestions, impulses, and systematically refuse them without ever getting discouraged by their persistence, and ever yielding to their will. One must at the same time observe clearly in one's being all its different elements, obscure, egoistic, unconscious, or even ill willed, which consciously or otherwise answer these bad influences and allow them not only to penetrate into the consciousness but sometimes to get settled there. That is the negative side. Both must be practiced at the same time. According to this moment, according to the moment, the occasion, the inner readiness, you must insist now on one, now on the other, but never forget either of them.
Yes, thank you, Captain. Any reflections, any questions before we take it up line by line? Yeah, when Captain was reading to me, it felt like again, how there are three aspects. There is aspiration, rejection, and surrender. So this felt like, the positive is the aspiration, and the negative is kind of, coinciding with rejection. And of course, as a byproduct, I feel surrender happens, but it felt this is it. And the most important thing was that it has to happen together. I cannot just aspire and not reject. I cannot just reject and not aspire. That would not be complete. So that was something that just came to me. But anything?
I think this also resonates what you were sharing, aligning it with what we were sharing other day about jealousy. Mother says jealousy, if you take out, then there is a hole that is left in your being, and you have to fill it up with good things. So aspiring for positive qualities and what the first part, to increase aspiration, develop one consciousness, unify one's being, and at the same time rejecting if that comes back to again take its place. So one has to continue rejecting and then also keep on aspiring for beauty, harmony, and more light, clarity in life. I think that's why many a times we struggle so much with getting de-addicted with whatever we are wanting to get de-addicted with, because most of the times this rehabilitation aspect we don't know about. So the thing of addiction is in front of me and I'm saying no, no, I won't touch it, no, no, I won't touch it, no, no, I won't touch it, and but there is a hole which needs to be fulfilled, with something more completer and more beautiful, that we struggle with at times, unless we I don't know, our eyes open somehow, that I have to. Many a times this happens when we are leaving our old jobs, jobs which are not resonating with us. And it takes a very long time when the older job is ready to now leave us, because we are struggling with it. We are not wanting it, yet we are continuing with it because there is nothing else I have to do. So we don't want to be with that void which will be there when I throw away that older job. So first of all, that emptiness, I think, as we sharing earlier, that we are not friends with that emptiness, and can't stand that void which is there now that when the old job is thrown. And then at the parallelly, one has to be very intelligent and, I don't know, curious also, that what do I fulfill this time with, which now is with me when I'm not doing the old work. Things that interest you, things of beauty, things that uplift us, gives us joy. So that has to be Even emptiness, people who are very comfortable with for a period, like just being by themselves, reading or whatever, that can be a good occupation. Anything that uplifts, gives us joy, delight, and in parallel, to avoid indulging in what takes us down. So what you were sharing, aspiration and rejection to happen parallelly. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. You know what intrigues me even now is that, and we have shared this before, that I don't even need to be in love with something to feel the pain of letting it go. Like you said, it might now even feel more like a burden or redundant. And yet, small things, they just feel that, oh, this also have to give, oh, this also have to give. Okay, I have to, reject it, like say, give up a job. But then I have to give up my title also behind my name, under my name when I write my email. So one doesn't even know how attached one gets to these small things which mean nothing. And yet there are some movements in the being that happens due to that. And when we start just either ignoring that, okay, something is dancing in front of me, and I'm like, okay, good, dance if that's. And otherwise, it's not possible that it's totally movement free and there would be nothing that would trying to pull you back. Yeah.
I
This
think
comes
that's
as
why,
a surprise. Yeah.
exactly, and that's why it's never, we should never be saying that, oh, I am such a detached person, because you never know, one thing is taken away, which is now feels a normal part of life, and then you feel that hole, what you were sharing, even when you're actively, you may not be in love with it, but it's a habit. So when that habit is taken away, it feels like something is lacking. It becomes a part of us. It may be a person, it may be my hair, it may be my car, which doesn't serve me anymore. And I've seen people who are so, even with cars, such cars or vehicles, which are not serving anymore, but they cry when they have to let it go. Like, oh my God, poor, you have served me so well. No, gratitude is another thing. But this, this attachment that we have, as if it becomes a part of my being, this is very interesting aspect to observe. Yeah. Tells us how sticky we are. Yeah. Even those clothes which we may not be wearing for 10 years, when we have to give away, as if we have to put a patthar on our heart and then give it away. Very strange.
I I also feel that sometimes how things that are there, which your being somehow doesn't like, but you can still how somehow turn it towards the mother too. For example, I was in a situation where there was Bollywood songs playing, and I was there. For that time, I couldn't go, and usually I don't really enjoy them. Some of them are good, some of them are not good. And I remember this song came, "Kaise Mujhe Tum Mil Gayi," from this very song from Gajini, very romantic song. But when the song played, I just thought about the mother. I just thought, such a beautiful offering towards the mother. Just look how it says, and the imagery changed, everything changed. Just so like sometimes I get really sticky even with rejecting. Oh, this is not spiritual. This is not good. This is not good. I don't like watching this movie. This movie. This is not spiritual. That was such a good lesson for me. That this habit that I think with Taru the other day was, or I think Monica you were saying that if we go into this line and then we take up this garb of ego that I have read this many books of Aurobindo or Krishnamurti, and that becomes now it's served that. So I mean, it happens with me all the time. Oh, I don't want to do this, and I don't constant. This is spiritual. This is not spiritual. This is divine. This is not divine. And that song when it played, I thought, wow, like it was like an aha moment for me. that because I thought, it is such a beautiful bhajan. Like in that sense, if I just turn it towards her, if you read it, it's beautiful. Kaise tum jheel mein aa gayi and all, it was very nice. So I mean that as well, that in a circumstances where even if you cannot reject or if you're not fully ready to do it, because sometimes it's good it's good to reject fully when you're fully ready, because if you just do it impulsively, then that thing doesn't leave you. You keep your mind, you believe it physically, but the mind is always, doesn't go. So I mean, how till the time being, if you know inside that, I'm not ready yet to reject it, I'm too much addicted to my cigarettes or whatever, whatever it is, a relationship, a job. But if you just say, okay, now you take it, like this thing, or turn it towards her, okay, I'm doing it, but I'll do it so perfectly that even this becomes a sadhana. So, and how then it just goes away. I mean, in that sense, like that song was really a good reminder for me. Just wanted to share that.
So taking the passage now, the positive and negative sides. There is a positive and negative side to this work. The positive side is to increase one's aspiration, develop one's consciousness, unify one's being, to go within, in order to go within, in order to enter more and more into contact with one's psychic being, to take up all the parts, all the movements, all the activities of one's being and put them before this psychic consciousness so that they fall into their true place in relation to this center. Finally, to organize one's own aspiration towards the divine and one's progress towards the divine. Now, yesterday, what we had read in our session in the heroic hearts, where it was said, that I say what I do, what I say, what I do.
What I think, I say, what I say, I do.
So that unifying aspect that we had touched, right? That why can't, I mean, it sounds so simple and it feels, how can it be anything different? And yet how different, how difficult it is, like how strange it feels when you realize that you are not one, you are many. And that too is a stumbling upon. It's not that you grow up realizing that, oh, there's one part who wants to do that. One part who wants to have New Year resolutions, and the one part who wants to make sure that none of the 15 resolutions last beyond 2 days. So, yeah. So, aspiration, developing one consciousness, unify one's being, enter more and more in contact with one's psychic being, so that all the movements, like we were discussing, right? All the movements which don't really mean anything. And yet, when we are offering them, when we are saying, okay, I don't want them, somehow there's a pain, and to avoid the pain. Because somehow, again, growing up, I have been taught that pain is something that must be avoided at all costs. Okay, dard ho raha hai, mat karo. Acha, matlab, it's beyond your capacity. Okay, okay, come rest. So this thing about offering the things that might be causing anything when there's no use. So all the activities of one's being, outside and inside, more importantly, put them before this psychic consciousness so that they fall into their true place in relation to this end. So for all this to happen, first one has to have a center, right? Again, that aim in life, the aim in life, what am I walking towards? And are my aspirations organized? Where am I walking towards? Again, I'm just repeating myself. I think it's so important for everything to make sense, for me to direct the force that I am, the force that lives in me towards something, at least if I know where I'm going. Because a lot of times I'm doing a lot of things that don't lead anywhere. That is okay too. But now that I can do this with more consciousness, more presence, more mindfulness, and I have a aim. It's good to question, what am I doing? Where is this taking me? And how much my day, actual practical day, how many minutes, how many moments, how many hours is possible, are actually towards which I claim is very important to me. Yeah, anything, please feel free to unmute anytime. That is the positive side. This shape, this direction, this unity that we can give to our being towards our, I don't know, rise or movement towards, insight towards the divine. Now taking the negative side. So at the same time, the negative side consists in refusing methodically and with discernment all the influences which come from outside or from the subconscious or inconscient or from the environment and stand in the way of spiritual progress. Okay, I want this in the first aspect and I don't want that in this aspect. Seeing what's taking me where, refusing with a method, organized, discernment, which come from outside, from subconscious, inconscient environment that stand in the way of spiritual progress. It sounds really tough. And yet the being, how I feel inside to anything, it's so easy if I just can allow myself the freedom to connect within and see, do I want that? Do I don't want that? Do I want to go there? I don't want to go there. I want to do this. I don't want to do this. I know.
Can I ask a question? I wanted to ask why Mother has distinguished these two movements as positive and negative. Why does she say that this is the negative side and aspiration is the positive side?
I think this negative is not the negative that we think, that ill will is negative. This negative is neti, negation. In Vedantic tradition, we have neti. So you are not affirming anything ki I am the God or the divine. You are saying I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. So that is negation. This is the negative side, yeah. That you are negating what needs to be negated. You are not inviting that. So in that sense, it is the negative side, the negation side. Yeah.
And the way it's worded, it also feels that the positive sides are adding on the good to me, right? Like taking me towards the shubh, the auspicious. And the negative is kind of the things that I need to let go, remove from my thing, letting go and adding. Again, the rehabilitation that we were talking about, that this is going, this needs to be increased. And yeah.
We do it actually in nature all the time. Like if we look at how we arrange our homes or how we do gardening, we sow good seeds and we remove the weeds. Both have to be done in parallel. So we keep adding on good seeds, the flowering plants, whatever seasonal crops that we want, in our whatever kitchen garden, wherever. And parallelly, we are always removing the weeds which are sucking nutrition from what we want to grow. And in our homes, if we see, we are always decluttering, we are clearing up what we don't need, and then from time to time we buy what we need and consume, and what is needed in day-to-day life. Yeah.
When you were sharing, when you started talking about weeds, I was reminded of, when Jetsunmala in her book, Cave in the Snow, when she spoke about those beautiful pink flowers. Like there were some pink flowers, very small, fragile looking outside her cave. And she wanted to now use that land to sow something, maybe potatoes, I don't know what. And then she said that, okay, I'll just pull them. They are like tiny, fragile flowers. And she was sad. And then she started pulling them. And when she pulled them, she realized that, oh my God, their hold on the ground was so strong and their roots were so deep and so intricate. So this is the negative, right? That it looks like a fragile pink flower, that what harm is it doing me? And how it's kind of, the whole web is created and is not, we don't even realize how strong the hold is till we try to give something up, smallest thing it might be. So it's very interesting. She said it in a really nice, expressive way.
I think that's why how these things we struggle so much that we throw them once and then they come back again, then we throw them again and then they come back again. Then at times we are wondering, oh, am I doing the sadhana correctly? Why is it coming back again and again? So just knowing what you were sharing, that their hold is so strong. It has been like, we have bhutiya mahals, haunted houses, and the spirits that are living there, they don't leave easily. People have to work, whatever tantrics or whoever is working, they have to work really hard and hit at the root so that they now leave that place, because it's their foothold. They have been living here for so many years. How can you say that now leave? And that is what happens with us. Like when we now try to give them away, as you were sharing earlier, that it hurts, and mother says it always hurts a little. Whenever we are trying to give up something which now feels negative and not needed in my life, it always hurts because it has become its house. It has been living here, and that's why it hurts, and we must go through that hurt, we must endure that hurt. It's a good kind of pain that we have to go through. Yeah. और इसीलिए थोड़ा मतलब it's like if we keep fighting, that also doesn't work. That oh, तू अभी तक यहीं पे है, गई नहीं, भैया उसका घर था वो कहाँ जाए इतनी आराम से. So we have to be really kind and okay, take your time, take your time. I am not going to listen to what you say, but you can be here. So slowly we develop a detachment. So the thing can stay here, roam around here, but you are not kind of engaging and too much listening to the dictates. It is just roaming around like a ghost, lurking around. Yeah. So then we develop a sense of kind of, okay, we can be together. Easy. We can be together. Yeah. Happens, all the times these ripples don't leave us. And they're still hanging around. But then we become comfortable with it because we have something more important to give attention to. So it can lurk around. Uska bhi to ghar hai. Yeah, Badalji, you are muted.
There are a few things which are coming in my mind while reading this. First is Duryodhan in Mahabharata. He was asked that why are you doing these wrong things? So he says, see, I understand what is right and what is wrong. But once I'm going to do So as if somebody is forcing me to do the wrong things. So that is why I do wrong things. But I have the knowledge. I have the knowledge that this is not right, this is right and wrong, I know. But still, something is forcing me. So maybe the habit, maybe the nature or whatever. So somebody is forcing me to do, so that's why I do that. Then Swami Vivekananda, when he was delivering lecture in the Western countries, somebody asked, can you define darkness? He says, the darkness can be better known. This is the absence of light. There is nothing like darkness. The light is not there, so that is darkness. So there should not be any word like darkness, because you can say absence of light. So that's all. Then I was thinking of some mathematics in my college days. There is like number line. This positive and negative. This is a number line. So this is there in one line only. -1, -2, -3 is there on the left hand side. And from the center 0, then again +1, +2, +3, +4. So it is on the same line. There is nothing like. And when I go to Saradama, is Ramakrishna's wife, she says that you are going to do some japa, dhyana, or something, and all this. She says that your mind will, as if somebody is forcing you not to do that. You decided that I'll concentrate on my mind and I'll do this, do that, and all this. He says your mind will run away from that by nature. Now you have to let it go, but monitor. You be witness and see where is it going and all this. But after that, then you try to bring it. Then you try to bring it back, but not immediately. Let it go and run a little bit. Then after that, when you become tired, then you can bring it back. So like that only you can control. And over a period of time, it is not in one day's effort or 1 month effort. It may take time. But that is the way only, because the mind is very powerful and it is not the speed more than the speed of light. So that is the way of control. Then I was also remembering Tagore. Tagore says, in Bengali, there is a poem called Dhula Mandir. There he says, তোমায় দিতে পূজার ডালি বেরিয়ে পড়ে সকল কালি. I am going to do puja. I means I got all the items which are required for doing that puja. But once I am going to offer you, there are all sort of other things, impurities that comes in. So I wanted to give you the good thing, the best thing. So accordingly, I have cut the fruits and this and that and all this. I have arranged all this. But from my mind, when I wanted to offer you, when I sat down properly and now in front of the deity now, and now from the mind, the good things are not coming. All dirty things are coming. So by nature. So he's telling that I required your blessings actually. Unless I get your blessings, I cannot offer whatever I wanted to offer. That's only when you give me the blessings with your daya. The daya means, what should I say in English? Something like then you have to give me the power. Then only I can offer. With that power also to be given by you only, whether you call divine or whatever maybe. So that has to come from there. Then only probably I can offer whatever I have. So the positive and negative, it will be there. So that's why the mother says in the last paragraph, both must be practiced at the same time. So then, according to the moment, the occasion, the inner readiness, you must insist now on one, now on the other, but never forget either of them. So what I decided to offer, and if I know that this is in the purest form and this is the positive side, so probably that we should not be deviated. Let all such of thoughts which are disturbing me, let it come. But a time will come once I am determined that yes, this is the right path which I am moving. So that should not be disturbing, not taking away from that path. Thank you.
Thank you. An example was something from the past just came to me, especially when Monica was sharing about ghosts. While growing up, not while growing up, like when my dad was much younger, in his factory, they had started a new factory, and suddenly, the workers, they started having a lot of accidents. Like they would say that, I just felt somebody pushed me and I fell towards the machine, finger, was cut or something. Like it kept on happening. So after like maybe 10 days, I guess it was my grandfather who called, like a spiritual person, like not a tantric or something, but somebody who was connected within. And he came and he was like that, yes, there, because the area was empty for so long, no, it was not being used. So there are some elements. So what he did was he said, okay, get me like, a small wooden plank or something. So that was given to him. And then he placed some even idols there and some pictures. And then he prayed. And then he said, okay, now that those energies we have offered, okay, this is your house now. Since we need to work, so you please grant us this place which has been yours. So if you could now let us work because we need to work, but this we have for you. And he said to my grandfather that now the first thing you do when you come to the factory and the last thing you do is to bow down your head and thank that energy to allowing you that space which was theirs so that you can work. And it's been, I don't know, 50, 60 years, and that practice is still there. So I never thought of it till you just, you were talking about the goals, that even factually it worked and not a single thing happened. I mean, random things sometimes, obviously, which are cores of anything, but how beautiful, right? That taking permission and showing that regard that, okay, I know you have suffered. We have traumas, we have so much hurt sometimes. So just allowing it that space, but saying that now you don't get to affect, the other things. You don't get to dictate, you don't get to influence, but you can stay. I mean, you must say, and thank you for allowing me now to have that space so that the positive can be done.
No, if there is time today, actually, we can take a little bit of what we were reading. It's very much in sync with the first few paragraphs of the book, The Mother. Some of us may have read it. Small little booklet by Aurobindo, The Mother. And there it exactly pinpoints on what we have been reading, the aspect of aspiring and the aspect of continuously rejecting what is to be rejected. So I have pulled it out. A PDF is available. We can maybe go through a little bit. I feel that will give us a lot of more strength and clarity here. Yeah, so this is a little book. Some of us may already know about it. Some of us may not. It's The Mother by Aurobindo. And then there are also letters and commentary on the Mother. Like this book, there is also, but that's a different compilation. This is just purely The Mother. Yeah. So I'm talking about right now, chapter 1. Maybe a little bit we can go through and see if this resonates with what we were reading. So I'll just read it out a little bit. So we were talking about aspiring, and then he also talks about how the response comes. So there are two powers that alone can effect in their conjunction the great and difficult thing which is the aim of our endeavor. A fixed and unfailing aspiration that calls from below, and a supreme grace from above that answers. But the supreme grace, now comes the part what we were reading, but the supreme grace will act only in the conditions of the light and truth. It will not act in conditions laid upon it by falsehood and the ignorance. For if it were to yield to the demands of the falsehood, it would defeat its own purpose. These are the conditions of light and truth, the soul conditions under which the highest force will descend. See, all of us want to change our lower nature. So we have to totally not defend it. Nothing in our being should be defending that lower nature, and then the force descends. So he says, these are the conditions of the light and truth, the soul conditions under which the highest force will descend. And it is only the very highest supramental force descending from above and opening from below that can victoriously handle the physical nature right now, what we are all struggling with, and annihilate its difficulties. There must be a total and sincere surrender, an exclusive self-opening to the divine power. So all the adverse attacks may be around us, but nothing in my being wants it. Yes, they are around, but no part of my being feels magnetically attracted to it. Nothing. So exclusive self-opening to the divine power. There must be a constant and integral choice of truth. Integral means at all the levels, mind, vital, body. Everything in my being demands just truth and clarity. There must be a constant and integral choice of the truth that is descending, a constant and integral rejection of the falsehood of mental, vital, and physical powers and appearances that still rule the earth nature. The surrender must be total and seize all the parts of the being. It is not enough that the psychic should respond and the higher mental accept कि भैया चल तू कह रहा है तो ठीक ही बोल रहा होगा, although मैं मान तो नहीं रहा तेरी बात. So no, not like that. That would not work. It is not enough that the psychic should respond and the higher mental accept, or even the inner vital submit. When I'm submitting, it means कहीं ना कहीं मैं विश्वास तो नहीं कर रहा, but चलो psychic कह रहा है तो let's try. But he says even that would not work. It is not enough that the psychic should respond and the higher mental accept, even the inner vital submit, and the inner physical consciousness feel the influence. No, that is not enough. There must be in no part of the being, even the most external, anything that makes a reserve, anything that hides behind the doubts, confusions, and subterfuges, anything that revolts or refuses. See, as if the whole being, outer to inner, has become a flame and is going upwards, that I want liberation, I want liberation. Nothing in the being wants to be where it was. Mother talks about this as if I have, in prayers and meditations, I have become a mounting cone of flame, like it's mounting, wanting the light, clarity. If part of the being surrenders, but another part reserves itself, follows its own ways, or makes its own conditions, then each time that happens, you are yourself pushing the divine grace away from you. If behind your devotion and surrender, you make a cover for your desires, egoistic demands, and vital insistences, कि क्या पता मदर भी यही चाहती हूँ जो मैं चाह रही हूँ. So I'm making a cover. If behind your devotion and surrender, you make a cover for your desires, egoistic demands, and vital insistences, if you put these things in the place of true aspiration or mix them with it and try to impose them on divine Shakti, then it is idle to invoke the divine grace to transform you. So again and again in every paragraph, he explains in some way that how we have to continuously reject falsehood. If we, at one part, we may be invoking grace, but in other part, since we are many, if in the other part I continue to follow the dictates of the older demands, then he says, no, this cannot work, can't go together. See, again and again in this, the second, the third, if you call for the truth and yet something in you chooses what is false, ignorant, and undivine, or even simply is unwilling to reject it, then always you will be open to attack, and the grace will recede from you. है ना। तो आपने उसी गड्ढे में ग्रेस की जगह आपने पुरानी चीजों को फिर से जगह दे दी। तो अब ग्रेस क्या करे बेचारी, वो कह रही ठीक है चलो फिर आएंगे वापस जब बुलाएगा। डिटेक्ट फर्स्ट what is false and obscure in you and persistently reject it. ये नहीं कि चलो 10 दिन तो रिजेक्ट कर लिया एंड नाउ 11th and 12th day oh let's accept, इतना किया 10 days. So then we will feel that adverse effect on us. We feel that suffering has come back again. Persistently reject it, then alone can you rightly call for the divine power to transform you. And this is again very beautiful. All these lines I think we should all can read in our own silences. I can say share it later. Do not imagine that truth and falsehood, light and darkness, surrender and selfishness can be allowed to dwell together. See, we always say, surrender is like in one moment either there is surrender or selfishness. So he says no, they can't dwell together in one moment. It is either of them. They can't be together in the house consecrated to the divine. Yeah, and this one is again beautiful, really. If you open yourself on one side or in one part to the truth, and on another side, see, we usually may open ourselves to in our mind to the truth, but the vital may still insist, continue on the older patterns, want to stick to still the older things that it is used to. Or it could happen the other way, it doesn't matter, but I'm just giving one example. So he says if one part you are open to truth, other part is not, and you are constantly opening the gates to hostile forces, it is vain to expect that the divine grace will abide with you. You must keep the temple clean if you wish to install there the living presence. Yeah, so this is, I think we all should maybe reflect upon it in our own solitude also. Read beautiful lines, very clear, very crisp, not really complicated, and very helpful on the path. तो यहाँ पे he is talking about when we say, कि अरे surrender भी तो भगवान ही करेगा, like we take a passive seat. Reject too the false and indolent expectation that the divine power will do even the surrender for you. The Supreme demands your surrender to her, but does not impose it. You are free at every moment till the irrevocable transformation comes to deny and to reject the divine or to recall your self-giving. See, this is what we say, that at every moment I have a choice. In one moment I can be beautifully surrendered. In another I may say, no, I want to fulfill the desire or whatever, the older demand is. So one can never be sure that now I can say, oh, I have surrendered to the mother. No, this statement can't be made, because we have until the irrevocable transformation where it becomes like a U-turn is impossible, and we don't know when that happens. We see that constantly with us U-turn happens. So he's saying that you are free at every moment till the irrevocable transformation comes to deny and to reject the divine or to recall your self-giving. कि एकदम से बोला कि oh I am your slave and अभी एकदम से ego के slave होके बैठे हुए हैं. So that can happen every moment. That's why vigilance. इसके बाद जो हम sunlit path में the next one is vigilance. So yeah. Your surrender must be self-made and free. That even if I don't get anything, but this is the way I want to go. This feels right. This is what I want for myself. Your surrender must be self-made and free. It must be the surrender of a living being, not of an inert automaton or a mechanical tool. Yeah, so I thought it was very much in sync with what we were reading. So just this a bit I wanted to bring forth.
Where it says that there is if there is surrender, then there is, like when you said that when there is surrender, there is no place for ego. And I'm just laughing when you said that, because on one side I say, I want to be the slave, and then these things that, oh, इसने मुझे ऐसे कैसे बोल दिया, or you know uh, I or maybe I said a joke and they didn't laugh, how could they do it? All these petty things come in my head, and then I'm just thinking that how easy it is for me to just say that, oh, I want to be the slave, and feel so like a true bhakt, and innerly I'm still improving on it. Innerly there are so many things to overcome. It's very funny when I look at it that. Also, ma'am, in the passage that we started the session with, the negative element, ma'am, can I read the second paragraph, the first few lines, please?
The negative or the positive?
The negative.
Yeah. Can you see it?
Yeah. So it says, at the same time, the negative side consists in refusing methodically and with discernment all the influences which come from outside or from the subconscient or inconscient or from the environment and stand in the way of spiritual progress. So here, what I did understand is, here it says, at the same time, the negative side consists in refusing methodically. Up until that, it is clear, and with discernment, all the influences which come from the outside. So it is saying that, like, I'm thinking, is it saying to refuse methodically all the influences which come from outside? So the subconscious or the unconscious, or from the environment or surroundings. So how is it negative if I am able to avoid the unconscious things that erupt in me or from this environment around me? Because if I'm avoiding that and if I'm focusing on myself, then it means that I'm consecrating, right? Or am I wrong here?
No, so as I shared earlier, it's negation. That's why mother has used negative side. नेगेटिव साइड का ये मतलब नहीं है कि ये गंदी साइड है ना। नेगेशन का मतलब नेगेशन, नेति कर रहे हो आप, है ना। इसमें आप कुछ एड ऑन नहीं कर रहे, इसमें आप सब्ट्रैक्ट कर रहे हो। अच्छा ये नहीं चाहिए, अच्छा ये नहीं चाहिए, अच्छा ये नहीं चाहिए। तो वो जो नहीं चाहिए, नहीं चाहिए, नहीं चाहिए का प्रोसेस है, उसको मदर हैज नेम्ड एज द नेगेटिव साइड, बिकॉज इट्स नेगेटिंग, इट्स रिमूविंग समथिंग फ्रॉम योर होम. While the other part, the first part, that is addition, है ना. You are having something positive, और यहाँ पे आप उसका negation कर रहे हो, नेति कर रहे हो. So when you are subtracting something, that's why the word negative side, and it does not mean it is a bad side which should not be done. So yeah, just that, it's just the meaning of that word which is a little confusing, I guess.
Yeah, yes. So it means it relates to the example you've given where we have someone in the house we don't like, but we don't ask them to go away, but we just keep on ignoring them and not listening to what they say.
we keep on doing what we have to do, what benefits us, but they can stay there. We are not listening to their demands and dictates. So that is what I am doing, like negating. I am not following their demands and wishes. Yeah, so that's the negative side. जैसे आप अभी कह रहे थे that if some comments come from outside, my attention just goes into that comments and I begin to think about it. अच्छा ऐसा क्यों हुआ होगा, उसने मुझे ऐसा क्यों बोला, अच्छा उनको कैसा लगा होगा. So this has to be rejected. This engagement with the storyline I have to stop. And there are two things here, coming from outside and coming from the subconscious. See, coming from outside would be, for example, just one possibility of it is, बाहर से किसी ने कुछ बोला, that is coming from outside. या आपकी आंखों ने कुछ बाहर देखा, that is outside. आपके अंदर जो उसके रिगल सा कुछ मूवमेंट हुआ, या जेलसी का बर्न हुआ, या कुछ हार्ट में पेन हुआ, that is inside. That is from the subconscious. The pattern is from how I react to it is from here, but the input, sensory input, is outside. Outside means what I can see with all the senses, है ना. तो जो भी बाहर से आया वो तो अपना चलो उसका इफेक्ट है ना, बट मेरे अंदर क्या मूवमेंट हो रहा है उसको लेकर, that is my inner. And wherever I see which is making me uneasy, like when I get lost in these thoughts, अच्छा उसने मेरे बारे में कैसे सोचा, मैंने उसके बारे में कैसे सोचा, मेरा क्या इमेज है किसके दिमाग में, this makes me uneasy. So I have to reject this engagement because it's making me uneasy. That would be the negative side. I have not to engage there. I have to engage something where either with, something positive, which uplifts me, benefits me.
So the influences are there. It's just that I am not entertaining them.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. I often share with Taru, it's like knock 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 हो रही है आपके दरवाजे पे और अंदर कोई है ही नहीं आंसर करने वाला. बाहर से कोई गालियां दे रहा है आपको, अंदर कोई है ही नहीं, मतलब घर खाली. अब आप बोलते रहो, वो 10 बार घंटियां बजाएगा, 15 बार बजाएगा, 20 बार बजाएगा, फिर से आएगा, अंदर है ही नहीं कोई, जवाब कौन दे. This is what we have to do to those influences which now are not necessary at all. कि अंदर nobody is there, nobody home. आप ये भी कहने नहीं जा रहे nobody home, क्योंकि उसको पता लग जाएगा ये बैठा तो है. ये भी नहीं करना. So
Nobody home.
Yes, nobody home. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, so just taking this to completion, that we've already discussed this aspect. And we've also, before this, discussed the surprise that at times come, that why is it movement coming from me? When we uncover certain veils and see what is guiding, what is coming from the inconscient or the subconscious, it's originating from me. We try to do that too till some time, and then we realize it's too, how we say, कीचड़ को क्या analyze करोगे कि मोटा है, पतला है, thick है, you just come out is the way. So one must discern these influences, suggestions, impulses, and systematically refuse them without ever getting discouraged by their persistence and ever yielding to their will. But mostly I just take these to be me, right? That how do I reject myself? So influences, suggestions, impulses, and systematically refuse them without ever getting discouraged by their persistence and ever yielding to their will. You know what you were sharing before, that, okay, I have not done this for 10 days. Let me do it for like maybe 5 minutes. And something in the being agrees that, you should be rewarded. And then when that 5 minutes again become 2 hours and you end up hitting your head that, oh my God, what? So this small thing that we give okay too. That is fine. Like, it's not fine without ever yielding to their will. One must at the time observe clearly in one's being all its different elements, obscure, egoistic, unconsciousness, or even ill-willed, which consciously or otherwise answers these bad influences, and allow them not only to penetrate into the consciousness, but sometimes to get settled there. That is the negative side.
मतलब जो ऐसे ऐसे मैग्नेट वाले एरियाज हैं मेरे अंदर जो एक्चुअली में बाहर से आयरन फिलिंग्स को इनवाइट करके बैठा लेते हैं, दो स्पॉट्स मदर सेज दैट वन मस्ट एट द सेम टाइम ऑब्जर्व क्लियरली इन वंस बीइंग all its different elements, obscure, egoistic, unconscious, ill-will, which consciously or otherwise answer the bad influences. है ना, बाहर से तो आया, बट यहाँ पे कौन है जो बार बार दरवाजा खोल देता है, खिड़की खोल के बैठ जाता है? कोई तो है जो उसको पसंद करता है, जो बार बार कि हाँ हाँ आ जाओ, let's have a tea. So to observe those parts which are very inviting to these influences, the adverse influences.
Sorry, I'll add one more thing. Knowing these things, like learning these things, I feel so happy, feel so excited. Oh, pata chal gaya, itna hi hai, pata chal gaya. But when the situation comes, like, let's say I go downstairs after this, and my friend does something to me, so ma'am, the question here is, remember one time you said, if the japa will become a parallel consciousness, calling the ma. So if I just listen to this, and I'm happy that, okay, this is how it is, it needs to be done, ki ghar pe koi nahi hai, that's what I'm going to tell inside of me when these influences come in. But will doing the japa, and if a person is able to develop if I am able to develop a parallel consciousness, then will mother remember this for me and she will act when the right time comes? Like saying that घर पे कोई नहीं है, क्योंकि ना जब सिचुएशन आता है and when I'm in my own mind, तब तो भूल जाता हूँ, सिचुएशन के बाद याद आता है कि हाँ घर पे कोई नहीं है.
No, it starts like that. Actually, it starts in retrospect. है ना, क्योंकि again we have to see that these are old patterns. We have been really living with them very happily. It's only now that something in my consciousness wants a change. Only now, very new. है ना, तो एकदम से ऐसा तो नहीं होगा कि बाहर से कोई सेम इन्फ्लुएंस आया जो पहले तो मैं एंजॉय करता था, अब मैं उसको एकदम से करूँ. It's like, even practically speaking, if you pick up any new skill, in one day you may be excited about it, but in one day you are not able to do it. The body needs time, the fingers needs time, everything. पूरा मैकेनिकल सेट होना है नया बॉडी में, मैकेनिज्म. सो वी हैव टू बी वेरी पेशेंट एंड काइंड. एंड व्हेन यू से विल द मदर डू इट फॉर मी, मदर कहीं बाहर जाके थोड़ी ना बैठी है. योर ओन कॉन्शियसनेस इज द मदर्स कॉन्शियसनेस. करना आपने ही है. द लाइट ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस विच इज नाउ वेकिंग अप इन यू, दैट्स मदर्स कॉन्शियसनेस. शी हैज ऑलरेडी पुट हर पोर्शन इन अस. एंड दैट इज वाई श्री अरबिंदो इज सेइंग कि बाहर से कोई नहीं आके करेगा, आप ही ने करना है सरेंडर. है ना. सो अब मैं ये बोलूँ कि अच्छा अगर मैं जब करती रहूँ तो मदर कर देंगी क्या मेरे लिए सरेंडर? तो मदर बाहर थोड़ी ना बैठी है, हमने ही तो करना है सरेंडर. व्हेन द राइट अपॉर्चुन मोमेंट कम्स, हु विल लिसन? यू. तरु थोड़ी ना करेगी आपके लिए, बैठी है माना वहीं आसपास, बट करना तो आपने है ना. है ना, करना आपने है. उसी दिन हम बात कर रहे थे कि वी आर नॉट अ डम्प काउ. मदर्स कॉन्शियसनेस इन यू, विच इज द लाइट विथ विच यू कैन सी कि अब मुझे क्या करना है. इट्स एन इंटेलिजेंट कॉन्शियसनेस, इट्स नॉट अ डम्प कॉन्शियसनेस. सो एक तरफ से जब आप कह रहे हो अच्छा घर पे कोई नहीं है, इसका मतलब आप बुद्धू बन के थोड़ी ना बैठे हो, घर पे है. ये देखो हर चीज को एग्जाम्पल को जब हम ज्यादा खींच देते हैं ना, बेचारा एग्जाम्पल, यू नो, घर पे हो आप, उस मूवमेंट के लिए नहीं हो जो आया है आपका अटेंशन लेने, सिर्फ उस मूवमेंट के लिए नहीं, जो सही मूवमेंट है वो उसके लिए आप हो। अब मान लो सत्संग का इनविटेशन आ गया, आप बोल रहे हो भी घर पे तो कोई है नहीं, हो आप। So you have to say yes to the right movements, as you said, the uplifting movements, which make you like enthusiastic about life and, you know, in general, that yes, so much to do. And to the bogus movements which now don't serve you well, you have to say घर पे कोई नहीं है, ऐसे, है ना, तो आप ही हो और कोई नहीं है. We are one with mother's consciousness. Yeah.
I love the answer. Thank you so much. I was confused because in the mother paragraph that you were reading, it said that if one is sincere, something, I'm just rephrasing it, that if one is sincere, then the mother will take care of the surrender. I thought maybe this is also mother's going to take care, but I get that. Thank you.
In the same book, Sri Aurobindo also says that the personal effort of the sadhak is very important till a certain stage, and we are not at that stage. We have to remember that. So, yes, personal effort.
Thank you.
No, while I was listening, hearing you talk, it felt like जो सारी चालाकियां, the cleverness that I till now have been using and still use for the outside world, manipulating, adjusting, showing that different face, hiding something, now can also be utilized for a good purpose. That I know when koi nahi hai, I know when koi hai. So if I have to use it, like mother says, there's nothing wrong, right? Things are just not at the right places. If I can now use this intelligence or wisdom to mind my own self and see, okay, here being clever, okay, here this. So that also is there.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सही. कि अब शादी में जाना है तो ऑफ कोर्स बिल्कुल टाइम नहीं है ना, और कोई जरूरी काम करना है जो कि इट्स द राइट वर्क, बहुत टाइम है, टाइम ही टाइम है. So ये जो चालाकी, exactly, that we have to use the चालाकी now very wisely. Yeah.
I remember one story, small story. Once Ramakrishna Paramahansa said to his disciples, there are 12 to 15 disciples, that I want to say who is the best disciple. So this game is very simple. Everyone tomorrow when you come has to get one fistful rice from your house, and the condition is that nobody should see that you are bringing that fistful rice. So, everybody from their home, when they are coming, they saw that opportune moment and all, and nobody was seeing them. They have taken. One disciple has not come. Everybody has come, and now they are waiting for the result. And now one disciple, Swami Vivekananda, did not arrive. So he came late by 1 hour and without any rice. So he said, "Where is the rice?" He asked. Ramakrishna asked, "What is the rice?" He says, "Whenever I'm trying to pick up the rice fistful and somebody is saying, I'm here, I'm seeing that you're doing this, you're taking rice." So then again, I thought that maybe after some time I'll try that. So again, somebody is telling me from outside, I'm watching, you are taking the fistful of rice. So that is he's telling that I could not get rid of because I wanted to bring. I had my ambition, but the fact remains that somebody was watching it every day. So that similarly, as you are saying, the घर में कोई नहीं है, the घर में भूत है actually. The something is there, so that is watching it. That is me actually. There is nothing else. I cannot Thank you.
Thank you.
When you were sharing before about the parallel consciousness, one more thing that was coming to me was that if that parallel consciousness has been developed, then the person who always was living in that house in just that one room now has an alternate address, right? So that really helps. Like you were talking about japa or chanting and the parallel thing. So I don't have to be there, but where do I go? right? So that also gives an alternate place for me till I don't need an alternate place, but right now I do. That is my truth. So that also helps in that. So we just read this, so finish it off. Yeah, Jagan, you have to want to say something?
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. And Namaskar, Captain. In that example that you gave about taking the rice, um, so the one disciple did not take the rice because someone was watching him. That's why he couldn't follow his ambitions. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. Yes. So then the Swami Vivekananda, who did not get the rice, he was declared the best disciple because every time I cannot forget myself. I am watching or I am bringing actually. The divine is everywhere. So the divine was watching. So he could not, that condition, he could not be fulfilled that nobody is watching that you are doing something. Whatever we do, the mother is watching actually. We are thinking that no, because mother was not there, I was not remembering her. But she knows actually what I got intention, whether any falsifying or anything of this nature, it is known. This is, it is just like sunlight. So we are closing our eyes and we are thinking that no, nobody has seen me. So that is not true. That is the fact actually. So every time we are in the open. So being observed every 17 to 24, and even whether we are sleeping or dreaming or anything of this nature, it is there. The divine is there. Actually, we may feel that I was sleeping, so divine was also sleeping or something. The divine is not sleeping. The divine is within me, and it is always awake. Actually, always. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so just going through it again. One must discern these influences, suggestions, impulses, and systematically refuse them without ever getting discouraged by their persistence and ever yielding to their will. One must at the same time observe clearly in one's being all its different elements, obscure, egoistic, unconscious, or even ill willed, which consciously or otherwise answer these bad influences and allow them not only to penetrate into the consciousness, but sometimes to get settled there. That is the negative side. So both must be practiced at the same time according to the moment, the occasion, the inner readiness. You must insist now on one, now on the other, but never forget either of them. It's like, when I'm aspiring, I'm simultaneously rejecting, right? Because in my aspiration towards something, there are other things which are getting rejected. And when I'm rejecting because I have an aspiration towards something, and that's why the rejection is happening. So even intricately, it's totally, together. And yet it's good to see them kind of being analyzed like this. And in this paragraph, the top one only, a lot of times when one is, especially in the beginning, when we take movements to its roots, always the I is sitting, right? Who wants respect? I. Who wants to be acknowledge I. Who want, okay, like especially when you were reading those paras from the mother. There's always this little voice that says that, okay, itna kuch to theek hai, I'm okay, but ye to de do. Okay, this I will get out of it. Okay, this I will get. I mean, this getting out is so built in the system that it takes a lot of कि चाहिए क्या और क्यों, मतलब there's a lot of I don't know गूढ़ता, there's lot of I don't know what word to use है, but this मुझे क्या मिलेगा ये जो ट्रेन है बहुत लंबी है और बहुत बड़े से छोटी 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 होके हमको एस्केप हो जाता है हमसे कि मुझे तो कुछ नहीं चाहिए, मुझे तो कुछ नहीं चाहिए. And then I become that person कि भैया मुझे तो कभी कुछ नहीं चाहिए होता. I sit on that train. Like, it's just again and again it comes that I being me won't be able to do it. It's not in my capacity to venture here. When one reads, especially, the passages you were reading from the mother, it sounds really tough, right? That level of sincerity, honesty, dedication, devotion. But then when one remembers that, okay, these will be done through me. All I have to, just keep at it, keep at it, keep at it, be more sincere, be more honest, as much that is in my capacity. Otherwise, one can just say कि हाँ ये तो मेरी possibility नहीं है, छोड़ो मेरे से तो होगा ही नहीं. Because it does sound like something that is very far from me if I allow myself to go and start weighing things and comparing things, because that's what I'm used to. Yes,
Yeah.
please say me.
And parallelly, just continuing with what you are sharing, parallelly we have to really develop a good taste. क्योंकि what felt for me breath of fresh air now is losing its charm, but it has not completely lost its charm. So from time to time, I do open the doors to polluted air, and flies come in and all kind of things come in, and then I'm wondering, oh, why am I here again? But who wanted that breath of freshly polluted air? Me, because I have nowhere else from which I can get that breath of fresh air. So to have that communion within, I think I have no idea. So something, that's why mothers, what Rupert Spira, for example, he says that if this is not the most interesting thing that you would like to do, then you should rather attend to whatever mostly interests you right now. What is the most interesting. तो अगर अभी भी हमको ऐसा लग रहा है दैट नो, यहाँ पे ठीक है, इंटेलेक्चुअल है, फिलोसॉफिकल है, बट मज़ा नहीं है, तो अगर यहाँ पे अभी मज़ा नहीं आ रहा है तो हमको एक्चुअली में वहाँ जाना चाहिए जहाँ मज़ा आ रहा है. Because when this inner, looking at the inner complexity, sorting, organizing, then rejecting bad elements, improving whatever the good elements, if this begins to give me joy, then it makes sense for me to do it. Otherwise, it's just going to be a very difficult struggle. कि अगर जस्ट बुक्स में लिखा हुआ है या मदर ने कहा है तो मुझे करना है, तो वो फिर कर नहीं पाते हैं अगर वो इंटरेस्टिंग नहीं लग रहा है, उसमें जॉय नहीं आ रहा है. तो सो आई मस्ट कॉन्टिन्यूसली गेट द ब्रेथ ऑफ फ्रेश एयर फ्रॉम सम प्लेस, some good uplifting place, so that I don't keep on opening the doors again and again for the polluted air which I am used to, जहाँ से फिर मक्खियाँ भी आती हैं, मॉस्किटोज भी आते हैं, ऑल काइंड ऑफ एलिमेंट्स कम इन, क्योंकि सांस तो सबको चाहिए. So some place has to be where nurture can be there, fostering that thing can be there, joy can come.
A lot of times when I'm opening that thing to get that air in, I take it as nature. ये तो मुझे चाहिए ही. And then I start crying कि अरे देखो मक्खियाँ भी आ गई, देखो कितना pollution है. I don't a lot of times give myself even this sincerity कि okay, I can have fresh air too. This is not a necessity that I open it like this and take it. And I miss that because I open, those things come. Because I'm so used to opening, and I just blame it on my circumstances, this life, this society, that, oh, why did God made mosquitoes and flies? And I go in that tangent. I oftentimes miss my action, my desire that brings in so much. Again, that is my cleverness, that the sooner I can, I don't know, see it and offer it, that it's not working for me. My cleverness is not helping me really. It's rather the opposite. Yeah. Yes, Captain.
No, thank you.
Should we end now? We can end the session now. So just before we end, just expressing gratitude to the mother for her words with so much light, and gratitude that I can comprehend them to any degree that I can, and praying that I can imbibe more and more in my life what was being said, what keeps coming to me, and I keep ignoring it. So sharing the merit that I might have accumulated with everybody, like we like to share the prasad. May all beings be well and happy and have joy and progress in their life. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.